You didn't stumble onto this message by accident. Something far beyond algorithms, far beyond coincidence, guided you here. Right now, in this exact moment, your consciousness is aligning with a frequency shift that only a small fraction of humanity ever notices. Think about it. How many times have you felt that eerie sensation of déjà vu, living the same moment twice? How often have you thought of someone only for them to appear or call you almost instantly? How many times have you felt reality bend around your focus, as if your attention itself carried a mysterious weight? These are not random glitches. These are the signs that your observer effect is already active. Most people remain unconscious observers. They watch reality unfold, as if they are victims of circumstance, unaware that their very attention is collapsing probability waves into solid experience. They repeat the same loops, attract the same patterns, live inside the same broken record of reality, but you, by noticing, have already stepped outside that loop. The very fact that you've recognized these subtle bends in reality proves that your consciousness is no longer passive. It is creative. It is magnetic. It is awakening to its true role as the architect of experience. This is why you're here. This is why these words found you, because the quantum field has selected this moment for your recognition. And once you see the truth behind these signs, you cannot unsee it. Your observer effect is active. Your shift has already begun. Have you noticed how life sometimes feels like a broken record, playing the same track over and over, the same arguments, the same disappointments, the same cycles that keep looping no matter how much you try to change? It's as if reality itself is caught in a groove, and you are forced to dance to a song you never chose. This sensation isn't random frustration. It's a direct sign that your consciousness has been operating inside what quantum researchers call the observer loop. Every day, your awareness collapses the same probability waves, which then reconstruct the same outcomes. That's why you keep meeting the same types of people, attracting the same lessons, replaying the same scenes. It isn't punishment. It's repetition coded into the quantum feedback loop of your observation. Even time feels distorted inside this loop. Hours can drag endlessly when you're stuck in old patterns, yet weeks vanish without progress. That's because your consciousness is not moving forward. It's orbiting the same frequency. Most people never notice this. They blame circumstances, luck, or fate. But the very fact that you've begun to recognize the loop means your observer effect is stirring. Awareness itself is the first crack in the cycle. Here's the hidden mechanism behind your repeating reality unconscious observation. Most people don't realize that simply by paying attention, especially with strong emotion, they are collapsing probability waves into form. It doesn't matter whether the focus is positive or negative. The quantum field does not judge. It simply responds. When you obsess over problems, you amplify them. When you dwell on fear, you magnetize fearful outcomes. Even resistance becomes fuel. What you fight against grows stronger because your observation energizes it. This is why worry so often turns into reality. It's not fate, it's physics. Imagine your consciousness as a projector and reality as the screen. Whatever film runs inside your attention, consciously or not, is what the projector beams into the world. Most people are playing the same film on loop, unconsciously selecting the same frames of probability from the infinite quantum library. That's why their lives feel predictable, even stagnant. This is the trap of unconscious observation. Without awareness, you become a passive creator, constantly reinforcing the very patterns you wish to escape. But the instant you realize this truth, the script begins to change. Awareness is the first act of rewriting reality. Your emotions are not just inner feelings, they are frequencies that instruct the quantum field. Every emotion you project acts like a tuning fork, sending out vibrations that call matching experiences into your reality. Fear, for example, doesn't just make you feel unsafe. It literally aligns your observation with fearful possibilities. Worry is even more dangerous. The more you imagine worst-case scenarios, the more your observation collapses those probabilities into your timeline. That's why worrying feels so heavy. Your body is already rehearsing the pain of a future that doesn't exist yet, while your observation is simultaneously making it more likely. Think of it as an echo chamber. Your inner state feeds your observation feeds your reality, and your reality reinforces your inner state. This is the emotional feedback loop, a cycle where fear multiplies fear, scarcity creates scarcity, and disappointment sets the stage for more disappointment. Most people remain trapped in this loop for decades. But here's the secret: the loop only has power as long as you identify with it. The instant you shift your emotional frequency toward love, gratitude, or trust, you collapse different probabilities. You literally break the loop. Here's the paradox: most people live their entire lives trapped inside the observer loop, without ever realizing it. They replay the same stories, collapse the same probabilities, and call it destiny. But the very moment you start to notice the repetition, something extraordinary happens. You step outside the loop, just enough to see it. And that tiny gap of awareness is everything. Awareness means your observer effect is no longer unconscious. The field is showing you its patterns, inviting you to recognize that you are not just inside the loop, you are the one powering it. This realization may feel unsettling at first. You might think, if I created these cycles, what else am I unconsciously creating? But this question is the beginning of liberation. By seeing the loop, you weaken its hold. Recognition disrupts repetition. Your attention shifts from being trapped inside the cycle to standing at the edge of it, where choice becomes possible. So if you've noticed the same arguments, the same jobs, the same disappointments circling back, don't despair. Repetition isn't proof that you're stuck. It's proof that your consciousness is waking up. It's proof your observer effect is alive. Have you ever thought about someone, maybe a friend you hadn't spoken to in months, only for your phone to light up with their message minutes later? Or maybe you casually mentioned a subject, and suddenly it appeared everywhere in conversations, online posts, even in the lyrics of a song you overheard. These aren't coincidences. They are synchronicities, evidence that your observation is already shaping the field. Quantum physics calls it the observer effect. What you notice tends to collapse into reality. But when these synchronicities multiply, it's a sign that your observer effect has moved beyond unconscious functioning. It has become active. Your inner state is no longer just reacting to life. It is magnetizing experiences that mirror your focus. Most people dismiss these moments as chance, but you know better. Each synchronicity is like a whisper from the quantum field, confirming that your consciousness is in direct dialogue with reality. The more you notice them, the stronger they become. Synchronicities are not random gifts. They are proof of alignment, proof that your awareness has reached a threshold where reality bends to meet your observation. This is your observer effect saying you're awake now. Have you noticed how time doesn't feel linear anymore? Sometimes a single hour stretches endlessly, filled with details you can recall vividly. Other times, whole days vanish in what feels like minutes. This isn't poor time management. It's a sign that your consciousness is interacting with time at the quantum level. When your observer effect activates, attention becomes more than passive focus. It carries electromagnetic weight, bending your experience of time. In moments of deep concentration, reality slows down, as if giving you more space to observe. In states of flow or expanded awareness, hours can collapse into seconds, because your consciousness is stepping outside the clock altogether. Quantum researchers call this temporal flexibility, the ability of observation to influence how time is perceived and experienced. Mystics call it timelessness, the eternal now. Either way, it's the same truth when you notice time behaving strangely. It's not an error. It's evidence that your observation is no longer bound by ordinary linear time. Evidence that your consciousness is starting to navigate probability fields where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Time isn't breaking. It's bending around you. Your dreams are not random stories. They are training grounds. Each night, as your body rests, your consciousness explores quantum possibility fields without the weight of physical limitations. Have you noticed how vivid your dreams have become? Sometimes they feel more real than waking life. You might find yourself observing events unfold. Then later, similar events appear in reality. This isn't prediction, it's practice. In your dream state, your consciousness rehearses the art of observation. You're learning how to navigate probabilities before they collapse into waking experience. Lucid dreams, recurring symbols, even those moments of flying or shifting places instantly, these are all signs of your observer training. Your mind believes you are dreaming, but your consciousness is calibrating to handle higher frequencies of awareness. That's why dreams often carry messages. They're not just reflections of your day, they are downloads, lessons, and simulations designed to expand your ability to focus. When you wake and recognize a dream playing out in real life, take it as confirmation. Your observer effect is active in multiple dimensions. Reality is responding not just to your waking attention, but to your nighttime observation as well. Have you noticed your sensitivity has increased? Crowded spaces feel heavier. You sense people's emotions before they speak. Sometimes, you even know what will happen before it unfolds. This isn't hypersensitivity or paranoia. It's your quantum intuition coming online. Your consciousness is developing what researchers call quantum sensing, the ability to perceive information directly from the field before it collapses into physical reality. That's why you just know when someone is about to call, or you can feel the outcome of a decision long before evidence appears. This heightened awareness is also the effect of entanglement. At the quantum level, everything is connected. When your observer effect activates, you begin to feel those threads of connection, other people's moods, the energy of environments, even the subtle frequency of future events. All of it becomes available to you. Most people ignore these impressions, dismissing them as imagination. But you recognize them for what they are, signs that your field is awake, interacting with reality in ways others can't yet perceive. Sensitivity is not weakness. It's a new instrument, a proof that your observer effect has expanded beyond the physical senses into the quantum. You know that strange sensation of déjà vu, the moment when you feel like you've already lived through the exact conversation, the exact glance, the exact sequence of events. Most people dismiss it as a brain glitch. But what if déjà vu is something far more profound? Quantum consciousness researchers describe déjà vu as a temporal echo, a moment where your awareness briefly taps into a parallel version of yourself. Instead of a malfunction, it's memory bleed through information leaking from alternate timelines where the same moment has already played out. That's why déjà vu feels so certain, so visceral. It isn't imagination. It's recognition. Your consciousness is quantum, entangled with countless versions of you, and in that flicker of déjà vu, you're remembering an event from another probability stream. This is why some déjà vu experiences are so precise, the same words, the same tone, the same energy. They are snapshots from timelines running alongside this one. So the next time you feel déjà vu, don't brush it off. Realize what's happening. Your observer effect has expanded enough to perceive multiple timelines at once. Déjà vu is not a glitch. It's a doorway. Have you ever caught yourself in a conversation and suddenly realized I've had this exact exchange before, not just similar, but word for word, tone for tone, even the same outcome? This isn't imagination. It's what researchers of quantum consciousness call a temporal echo. A temporal echo occurs when your observation collapses the same probability wave repeatedly. Instead of moving forward into new possibilities, your consciousness keeps looping back, replaying the same scene. This is why some relationships feel like they're stuck on repeat, or certain conflicts seem to reappear no matter how much you try to resolve them. Most people dismiss this as coincidence or bad luck, but it's more precise than that. These echoes are signals. They reveal that your observer effect has been running in autopilot, unconsciously selecting the same frequency over and over, But here's the secret. The very fact that you notice a temporal echo means something has shifted. Awareness breaks repetition. By recognizing the loop, you've already begun loosening its grip. The echo is not punishment. It's a message from the field, showing you exactly where your consciousness is stuck and where you now have the power to shift. Sometimes you wake from a dream that feels more like a memory than fantasy. Later, fragments of that dream appear in waking life. An image, a phrase, even a person you saw while asleep. This is not imagination. It's a quantum bleed. A quantum bleed happens when your consciousness accesses multiple probability streams at once. Instead of staying confined to a single timeline, your awareness overlaps dimensions, pulling through images, emotions, and experiences from alternate versions of reality. That's why dreams can feel so real, and why life sometimes feels like a continuation of the dream. These overlaps often show up as uncanny synchronicities, déjà vu that stretches across waking and dream states, or encounters with people who feel strangely familiar, even if you've never met them. Your observer effect is expanding, learning to stabilize perception across timelines. Most people dismiss these moments as just dreams, but when you recognize them as dimensional overlaps, everything changes. You begin to see that you are not bound to one linear story. You are navigating a multiverse. Quantum bleeds are not accidents. They are proof that your observer effect is training you to perceive reality as layered, fluid, and infinite. One of the clearest signs that your observer effect is active is the subtle shift in how you perceive people and places. You walk into a room and instantly feel its heaviness or lightness before anyone speaks. You meet someone and sense their true state beneath their words, a calm frequency, or hidden turbulence. They're not expressing. This is your perception moving beyond the five senses. Your field is tuning into the quantum resonance of environments and individuals. Every thought, every emotion carries an energetic imprint, and your consciousness has become sensitive enough to register these signals directly. That's why some places feel safe and expansive while others drain you. Why certain people feel magnetic, as if you've known them forever, while others make you uneasy for no obvious reason. You are reading the frequency field itself. Most dismiss these impressions as mood or intuition. But for you, they are confirmation that your awareness is stretching beyond the surface of reality. When you notice energy first before action, before words, you are witnessing quantum truth. Observation is no longer passive. It is vibrational. And this vibrational awareness is proof. Your observer effect is fully awake. The observer effect is real. Science has shown that particles behave like probabilities until observed, then they collapse into form. This truth has inspired countless people to believe they can manifest simply by watching, visualizing, or focusing on outcomes. And yes, observation does shape reality. But here's the secret. Almost no one talks about the true quantum shift happens before observation. Observation collapses possibility, but something deeper determines which possibility you're even capable of observing. This hidden mechanism is embodiment. Long before your eyes see, your thoughts imagine, or your intentions focus, your field has already chosen a frequency. That frequency decides which version of reality you can align with. Think of it like tuning a radio. The observer effect lets you choose the song on the channel, but embodiment decides which station you're on in the first place. If you're tuned to fear, you'll collapse fearful probabilities. If you're tuned to love, gratitude, or coherence, you'll collapse realities vibrating at those frequencies. This is why so many struggle with manifestation. They're observing with their minds while their bodies are still broadcasting the old frequency. They try to think new realities into existence while being the vibration of the old self. The hidden shift, then, is not just in what you observe, it's in who you are before you observe. Change the frequency of your being, and the field reorganizes before your eyes. Imagine two instruments tuning to the same pitch. When they vibrate in harmony, their sound becomes fuller, stronger, resonant. This is the essence of quantum coherence, when your inner state aligns completely with the frequency of the reality you wish to experience. Most people try to change their lives by focusing harder, visualizing more, or repeating affirmations. But if their internal frequency is scattered, fear pulling in one direction, doubt pulling in another, their observation collapses, possibilities into noise. Coherence is different. It means every layer of your mind, heart, body, and energy is vibrating in harmony with the timeline you seek. When you achieve coherence, you don't have to chase outcomes. The field responds automatically. Your observation doesn't just collapse random waves. It collapses the exact probabilities that match your embodied state. This is why love, gratitude, and trust are so powerful. They unify your vibration, making you a clear signal in the quantum field. Think of coherence as becoming the frequency of your desired reality, not forcing it into existence. Instead of shouting at the universe, you resonate so clearly that the universe has no choice but to reflect it back. Incoherence generates loops. Coherence generates shifts. The more aligned you are, the more instant the collapse into new reality. This is the hidden mastery of the observer effect, moving from fragmented attention to embodied coherence. Every quantum shift requires a death. Not the death of your body, but the death of the identity you've been carrying. The old you is built on patterns, stories, and loops, beliefs about who you are and what is possible. That identity is comfortable, but it is also a cage. And as long as you cling to it, you remain bound to the same probabilities. This is why so many feel resistance when transformation begins. The old self fights to survive, whispering, "Stay where it's safe. Stay who you've always been." But safety is an illusion. The very repetition you're trying to escape is the cost of holding on to that outdated identity. Quantum coherence demands surrender. You cannot embody a higher frequency while dragging the weight of the past. The field only responds when you release the false self, the version addicted to control, fear, or limitation. Think of the caterpillar inside the cocoon. Its old form must completely dissolve before it can emerge as a butterfly. In the same way, your outdated identity must disintegrate, so your true, coherent self can emerge. Letting go feels like loss at first. But what dies is only the mask. What survives is your essence, freer, lighter, and finally aligned with the reality you were always meant to observe. Imagine reality as a radio. Each timeline is a station, broadcasting its own music. Most people live their entire lives twisting the volume knob, trying to make the song louder, clearer, more tolerable, without realizing they're still stuck on the same station. That's what happens when you use the observer effect without coherence. You change the details, but you never change the frequency. If your inner state is tuned to fear, every song you hear will carry fear's vibration, no matter how much you try to alter the lyrics. If your station is set to scarcity, every outcome will sound like lack, even if you visualize abundance. Changing the song isn't enough. You must switch the frequency. This is where embodiment comes in. When you embody love, gratitude, or coherence, it's like turning the dial to a new station entirely. Suddenly, the music is different, not because you forced it, but because you tuned into a reality where that music already exists. You are not here to endlessly remix the same station. You are here to discover that you can tune into infinite frequencies. Once you understand this, the question is no longer, how do I change my reality? The real question becomes, which station am I broadcasting right now? There comes a moment in every awakening when the path back disappears. Once you see how the observer effect truly works, once you experience coherence in action, you cannot return to unconscious living. The veil doesn't drop again. The loop doesn't trap you the same way. Your shift is irreversible. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect overnight. It means the axis of your perception has changed forever. You now know you are not a victim of random fate. You are a participant in quantum creation. Even when challenges arise, You no longer see them as punishment, but as mirrors showing you where your observation still holds power. Your old self may try to reassert control, but it cannot reclaim authority. You've tasted freedom. You've witnessed the feedback between your awareness and reality. And once you've seen that connection, no amount of denial can erase it. Think of it like stepping through a doorway. You can glance back, but you can't unknow what's on the other side. You've crossed into a dimension of responsibility and empowerment that will continue to unfold. So declare it now. With certainty, my observer effect is awake. My coherence is active. My shift is irreversible. Your attention is not passive, it's a spotlight. Wherever it shines, the quantum field responds. Most people don't realize this. They scatter their awareness across worries, regrets, and endless distractions, and then wonder why reality feels fragmented. But the truth is simple: what you illuminate with your attention, you energize. This is why spiritual teachers and quantum researchers alike emphasize awareness. Attention is the first tool of creation. Imagine walking into a dark theater with a single beam of light. The stage is filled with infinite props and actors, but only the part you spotlight becomes visible. In the same way, infinite probabilities surround you, but only those you attend to collapse into form. A simple practice: pause several times a day and ask yourself, where is my spotlight right now? If it's fixed on fear, you'll empower fearful outcomes. If it's glowing with curiosity, gratitude, or love, you'll energize possibilities vibrating at those frequencies. The spotlight of your attention is the most valuable resource you have. Once you master where and how you direct it, you stop being a passive observer and start becoming a deliberate creator. Every observation carries a frequency. When you look at life through fear, you collapse fearful realities. When you observe with love, you collapse expansive ones. The difference isn't in the outer event, it's in the vibration you bring to it. Fear contracts. It narrows your spotlight, locking you into survival probabilities. Love expands. It opens the field, revealing options that fear could never see. This is why two people can live through the same circumstance and experience completely different outcomes, because the frequency of their observation determines which timeline they align with. A simple practice when fear arises: pause and shift your focus to gratitude. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to raise your vibration because it tells the field, I am already abundant. The field then mirrors that state back to you. Love, trust, and gratitude don't just feel good. They are quantum technologies, frequencies that rewrite probability itself. The moment you choose to observe through love instead of fear, you step out of the loop of repetition and into the field of expansion. Your reality doesn't change because life suddenly gets easier. It changes because you changed the frequency from which you observe. Most people approach manifestation as a struggle of control. They push, force, and try to bend reality with sheer willpower. But quantum reality doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to resonance. Control is rooted in fear. It says, if I don't make this happen, it won't. But surrender is rooted in trust. It whispers, the frequency I embody is enough. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means aligning so fully with coherence that you no longer need to fight. The field organizes itself around your vibration. Think of water flowing around a stone. The stone resists, but the current always finds a way. When you try to control reality, you become the stone, rigid, limited, exhausting yourself against the current. When you surrender, you become the current, fluid, adaptive, unstoppable. Coherence is born in surrender. When you release the need to control, your mind, heart, and energy unify. That unity creates a clear signal the field cannot ignore. Stop forcing. Start resonating. Your observer effect doesn't need your struggle. It needs your coherence. And coherence comes when you finally let go of control and trust the flow. Rituals anchor frequency. They remind your consciousness where to focus and train the field to respond. You don't need elaborate ceremonies. Just a simple daily declaration is enough to align your observer effect with your highest reality. Each morning, pause before the rush of the day. Place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and breathe slowly. Then declare with conviction, I collapse my highest timeline. Now, say it not as a wish, but as a truth already unfolding. Feel the resonance in your body as the words vibrate through you. This practice works because declarations bypass doubt. Instead of begging the universe, you stand as if the shift has already occurred. The quantum field doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to coherence. A clear, confident statement tells reality, this frequency is who I am. Over time, you'll notice synchronicities intensify, challenges resolve more fluidly, and your inner state remains steady. The declaration isn't magic, it's alignment. Say it daily. Say it boldly. And let each repetition carve coherence deeper into your being. I collapse my highest timeline. Have you ever wondered why, during certain phases of your journey, everything feels silent, friends drift away, opportunities stall, and life seems to pause? This isn't punishment. It's what I call an observer quarantine. When your observer effect begins to activate at higher levels, the field temporarily withdraws external noise so you can recalibrate. Isolation is not abandonment, it is integration. Your system is learning to hold new frequencies without collapsing back into old loops. Waiting periods serve the same purpose. They frustrate the ego, which craves progress and proof. But on the quantum level, stillness is where alignment stabilizes. Just as a seed must rest in the dark before breaking into the light, your consciousness needs silence to consolidate its shift. This is why your life sometimes feels like a pause button. The field is protecting you from distractions that would pull you back into incoherence. You're not being left behind, you're being refined. So if you find yourself alone or waiting, see it not as emptiness, but as preparation. Observer quarantine means your consciousness is in the chrysalis stage, preparing to emerge coherent, radiant, and unstoppable. Transformation doesn't happen gradually. It builds as pressure until a sudden leap occurs. Think of water heating in a pot. At first, the temperature rises slowly, and nothing looks different. But the closer it gets to 100 degrees Celsius, the more restless the molecules become. Then, in a flash, the water transforms into steam. That's a phase transition. Your consciousness works the same way. As your observer effect strengthens, you may feel restless, unsettled, even under intense pressure. Old patterns resist, while new frequencies push to break through. It can feel like chaos, but it is actually momentum building toward breakthrough. The discomfort is not failure, it's physics. Just as water cannot become steam without heat, you cannot leap into a higher timeline without pressure. That pressure signals you're at the edge of collapse, ready for a new state of being. Most people give up right before boiling point, stepping back into old loops. But if you stay coherent through the intensity, the leap is inevitable. Suddenly, the old identity dissolves, and you shift states no longer the water of repetition, but the steam of expansion. The pressure is proof, your transformation is already underway. One of the hardest parts of awakening is watching old pieces of your life fall away. Relationships fade, jobs end, environments that once felt comfortable suddenly feel unbearable. It may seem like loss, but in truth, it's preparation. When your observer effect activates at higher frequencies, coherence cannot sustain attachments that vibrate at lower levels. The field begins clearing everything that no longer matches your new state. What looks like endings are actually alignment space being made for realities that resonate with who you're becoming. Think of it like pruning a tree. Branches are cut back not to harm the tree, but to help it grow stronger and healthier. Similarly, when people, places, or opportunities dissolve, it's not punishment. It's the universe pruning your path, ensuring you don't collapse back into the loops you've already outgrown. Yes, it can feel painful. But every release is evidence that you're shifting into timelines where those old attachments cannot follow. You're not losing, you're upgrading. The dissolving of the old is not the end of your story. It's the clearing of space so your highest timeline can finally take root. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't simply grow wings. It dissolves. Its entire body turns into a formless soup before reorganizing into a completely new structure. From the outside, it looks like destruction. But in truth, it's the blueprint of transformation unfolding. Your awakening works the same way. When your observer effect reaches a threshold, the old identity begins to liquefy. Habits, roles, and thought patterns that once defined you break down. To your ego, this feels terrifying, like you're losing yourself. But in reality, you're undergoing a total reorganization at the quantum level. Just like the caterpillar, you are not dying, you are becoming. The pressure, the confusion, the sense of dissolving are not signs of failure. They are proof that a higher template of your being is taking shape, and when coherence stabilizes, you emerge as something entirely new. The butterfly doesn't crawl, it flies. Likewise, the new self doesn't struggle through the same loops. It moves freely through expanded timelines. So when life feels like it's falling apart, remember the cocoon. What looks like chaos is actually creation. What feels like an ending is the most sacred beginning of all. One of the most powerful realizations in your awakening is this: you are not alone. The strange synchronicities, the déjà vu, the dissolving of old identities, it can feel isolating. But beneath the surface, something profound is happening. You are becoming aware of the network of awakening souls you are entangled with. At the quantum level, separation is an illusion. Entanglement means that once particles connect, they remain linked across any distance. The same is true of consciousness. As your observer effect strengthens, you start to sense the invisible web binding you to others walking this same path. This is why you sometimes feel waves of energy out of nowhere, or suddenly sense the collective mood shifting. You are not just tuning into your personal field, you are resonating with a larger global coherence. Most people think their awakening is a lonely journey. But in truth, every step you take strengthens the entire network. Your coherence ripples outward, amplifying others, just as theirs supports you. You are not a solitary observer. You are a vital node in a vast field of awakening. And together, this network is reweaving the fabric of reality itself. What happens when not just one, but millions of observers awaken to their power? The effect multiplies. Reality itself begins to reorganize. This is the collective observer effect, humanity's shared consciousness, collapsing probability waves on a global scale. You can already feel it. Old systems are breaking down. Truths once hidden are surfacing. Structures built on fear and control are destabilizing because the collective spotlight is shifting. Humanity is no longer observing from victimhood, it is observing from awakening. This is why collective meditation studies show measurable changes in crime rates, violence, and even global coherence fields. When many people focus on love, peace, or gratitud, the quantum field bends. The probabilities of conflict shrink. The probabilities of harmony expand. Most still think their thoughts are private, their emotions insignificant. But every act of observation contributes to the collective field. Your awakening is not just about you, it's about the entire human story. The more individuals embody coherence, the more the collective timeline shifts. Together, we are not waiting for change, we are collapsing new realities into being. Humanity is not broken. It is reorganizing. Every thought, every act of observation doesn't vanish into silence, it ripples. This ripple is what biologist Rupert Sheldrake called morphic resonance, the idea that once a pattern is established, it becomes easier for others to access. In quantum terms, when you embody a higher frequency, you make it easier for others to step into that same state. This is why the awakened are sometimes called the chosen ones. Not because they are superior, but because they are the first to anchor new frequencies into the field. By living in coherence, they stabilize timelines that others can now enter. You are literally seeding realities that humanity can grow into. Think of it like carving a trail through a dense forest. The first steps are the hardest, but once the path is made, others can follow with greater ease. In the same way, your shift into higher timelines clears the way for countless others. So when you feel small, remember your coherence is not just personal, it's collective architecture. You are anchoring futures. You are transmitting signals across the morphic field, helping humanity remember what it already knows, deep inside. Once a wave begins, it cannot be undone. Drop a stone into water, and ripples spread outward no matter what you do. The same is true for human awakening. Once enough observers embody coherence, the momentum becomes unstoppable. This is why the current shift on Earth feels so turbulent. Old systems built on fear are cracking. Collective illusions are dissolving. It may look chaotic, but what you're witnessing is the noise of collapse, not failure. The wave is already in motion, and nothing can reverse it. Even if individuals resist, the collective resonance grows stronger each day. Each awakened soul adds amplitude to the wave, making it easier for others to rise. What once took lifetimes to awaken can now unfold in months or even moments. This is humanity's quantum leap. And like any phase transition, there is no going back. Once water becomes steam, it doesn't return to water without cooling. Once consciousness awakens, it cannot return to ignorance, so take heart. No matter how dark the headlines seem, the light is spreading faster than fear. The awakening wave is irreversible, and you are not just riding it. You are part of the force, driving it forward. The greatest truth of this journey is not just personal, it is collective. You are not merely an individual observer shaping a private timeline. You are part of the quantum field itself, awakening to its own nature. When you declare, "I am the field awakening," you step into your true identity. You are not a fragment separated from the whole. You are the whole remembering itself through the lens of your life. This is why your awakening feels larger than you. It's not just your shift, it's the universe shifting through you. Every breath of coherence you embody ripples through the morphic field. Every act of love strengthens the signal of collective awakening, and when enough of us stand in this recognition, the declaration becomes undeniable. We are the quantum field awakening itself. This is not poetry. It is physics. Consciousness and the field are not separate. The observer and the observed are one, and when we remember this truth together, the illusion of limitation dissolves, so speak it boldly. Claim it as real. For in declaring it, you are not predicting the future, you are collapsing it into being. We are the quantum field, awakening itself. You did not arrive here by coincidence. Every sign, every echo, every strange twist of reality that brought you to this point was a message from the field. It was proof that your observer effect has already been active, whispering to you through synchronicities, déjà vu, and inner knowing. Now you see the truth. You are not trapped in a broken record of repetition. You are not powerless inside the loop. The very moment you noticed the loop, you stepped beyond it. That awareness cracked the cycle, awakening you to your role not just as an observer, but as a creator. We've journeyed through the hidden mechanics of reality, the observer effect, emotional feedback loops, temporal echoes, synchronicities, dreams, and energy perception. We've uncovered the deeper truth. Observation alone is not enough. The true shift happens through coherence when your mind, heart, and body align with the frequency of the reality you wish to experience. This is embodiment. This is the hidden key. We've seen that letting go of the false self is not loss, but liberation. Just as the caterpillar dissolves in its cocoon, you dissolve the identity that once kept you bound. In that dissolution, the butterfly of your higher self emerges free, radiant, Unstoppable. We've explored the collective dimension entanglement with the awakening network, the morphic resonance of coherence spreading across humanity, and the unstoppable wave of awakening that is reorganizing the very fabric of reality. What feels like chaos is not destruction, it is rebirth. What feels like endings are openings, and now we arrive at the declaration, not just a statement of belief, but an act of collapse, a choice that anchors your highest timeline into being. Say it boldly, my observer effect is active. My coherence is alive. My shift is irreversible. Say it collectively, we are the quantum field awakening itself. Let these words resonate not as metaphors, but as frequencies. Speak them as reality, and the field will align. You are not waiting for change. You are collapsing it now. So here is the call to action. Declare your shift in the comments, in your journal, in your own heart. Anchor it by writing, I collapse my highest timeline. Now, every declaration strengthens the signal. Every word is a ripple in the morphic field. Remember, your awakening is not just yours. It is ours. Each step you take ignites others. Each shift you embody becomes a path for humanity. The wave cannot be reversed. The loop cannot reclaim you. The old self cannot survive coherence. You are free. You are awake. You are the field remembering itself. And your reality, our reality, will never be the same again.